Where do you begin as you reopen your hotel? As states are beginning to reopen, businesses are facing new challenges that we've never seen before. And likewise, as the hotel industry prepares to welcome new guests, there are several items they have to include in their reopening guidelines. Some of the tips included in this video start with your local requirements, developing consent forms, and implementing staff screening and temperature checks. We'll also look at planning for physical distancing, making hand sanitizing easy, and implementing new cleaning requirements. You also need to be prepared for an actual COVID case at your hotel. Today, you're going to look at a reopening guide with me, Markeisha, as your guide. Let's jump right in. The hotel industry closed temporarily due to COVID, and reopening presents many challenges. Hotels must properly manage staff and guest safety to prevent COVID from spreading. In order to be successful at this, they need to have a plan. Here are some important items to keep in mind when you are making your plan. Most state governments are releasing their own guidelines for different types of businesses. Additionally, most states are reopening in phases, so make sure to check where hotels fall within those phases in your state. Check your state government's websites, as well as your local chamber of commerce, for details of reopening. For hotels, these guidelines are likely to list capacity restrictions. The number of guests you can have in your hotel at any time may fluctuate. But what else should you do to prepare? When guests check in, you'll need to have the correct screening process in place. If they are experiencing any COVID symptoms, they should not be staying at your establishment. Period. Jotform's health declaration form can simplify and speed up the process of this screening. It also provides you with a written record of a guest's health and medical history. Along with the screening form, you probably will also want a COVID-19 liability waiver form. This is important, especially if people are going to use high-traffic areas like the fitness center or pool. This waiver can protect the hotel from potential legal damages if a guest or worker gets sick with COVID-19. It is best to have all these forms at either check-in or during the reservation process. The forms can be added to your website, sent via text message, or attached to the guest's email confirmation. If you have the guests fill out the forms electronically, it will minimize the number of things that both you and your guest have to touch. Digital forms are also easier to store and do not require any additional work by your staff. Forms like these are valuable for contact tracing too. Having detailed records containing which guests were present at any given time can make contact tracing easier. You should also keep good records of your staff and their schedules. You'll need to screen any staff members that will be in contact with your guests. You can do this by implementing daily health checks. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, or the CDC, it is vital to perform health checks in a way that is safe and respectful. Consider using social distancing, personal protective equipment, and partitions when performing health checks. Consider also having employees do a COVID-19 self-screening questionnaire similar to the guest. Each day when they enter the hotel, they can answer whether they have any symptoms or have been in high-risk situations, such as coming into contact with anyone who may be infected. In addition to the form, you might want to consider taking temperatures. Anyone with a temperature above 100.4 degrees Fahrenheit has a fever and should be sent home. But what about social distancing? Physical distancing can be hard in your hotel, especially if your hotel is large. You cannot be everywhere at once. The CDC recommends that you start by modifying work areas to create a layout that keeps staff at a safe distance apart. It's also important to change the layout of the common areas of your hotel to allow 6 feet of space between employees and guests whenever possible. Many companies have resorted to installing physical barriers, especially where 6 feet of distance is not possible. Transparent shields and partitions can be used at the front desk, and card readers can be moved further away. Other solutions include using touchless card readers and having a no-cash policy. Then there are your high-risk areas we mentioned before, like pools, fitness centers, lounges, and breakfast buffet areas. Depending on how your hotel is laid out, it may be possible to keep these areas open, but you may be limited to a certain number of people and you would have to create protocols for disinfecting the area. This is especially important in breakfast buffets. The Florida Restaurant and Lodging Association, National Restaurant Association, and American Hotel and Lodging Association recommend that hotels erect barriers in these types of areas, such as buffets or salad bars. They also recommend cleaning the area often to limit the spread of the virus. As for room service, many have moved to door delivery only. You should install hand sanitizing stations throughout the hotel and keep them full. A good place to have them in a hotel is right outside every elevator door. You will also want to keep the soap and paper towels stocked in the bathrooms, and the faucets should produce hot water to help prevent germs from spreading. A tip that many do not think of is to have sanitizing wipes near high-touch areas like ice machines and luggage racks to encourage guests to wipe the surfaces before using them. And of course, we don't want to forget about the cleaning that the hotel has to do. Strict cleaning standards can help stop or minimize the spread of the virus. You should have a regimented disinfection and cleaning schedule, and make sure that your team actually completes the task on schedule multiple times each day. This is especially important in those high-touch areas: handrails, door handles, elevator buttons, etc. It is also important to review room cleaning procedures. Your housekeepers will need to be trained on proper disinfection techniques. Leaving the room vacant longer before staff come in to clean has also proved helpful. You should arm your staff with PPE, like gloves and face masks, while they are cleaning or doing laundry. And just giving them the equipment is not enough. You must teach them to use it properly. Another step you can take to make the hotel safer is to work with your maintenance manager to maximize ventilation in each area. The CDC recommends installing HEPA filtration units wherever possible. But what if a staff member or a guest gets COVID? No matter how prepared you are and how careful you try to be, there is no guarantee that the virus won't spread. CDC guidelines encourage hotel owners to be prepared with safety measures in the event that an employee or guest is diagnosed with COVID. If this happens, you should immediately contact your local health authority and implement contact tracking. If an employee starts to develop symptoms, separate them and send them home. If a guest or employee tests positive, close off and clean any areas that person used for any prolonged amount of time. If a guest has been ill, do not go and clean their room for at least 24 hours. While cleaning, use extra care on frequently used areas like light switches, remotes, or door handles. A vacuum cleaner with a HEPA filter is highly recommended. Having a detailed, well-thought-out reopening guide can position your business for a successful reopening. Hotels are complicated because so many different guests are coming from so many different locations, making it more challenging to minimize the risk for staff members and guests. But it can be done. It's best to start developing this plan early on and sticking to it. As a business, you probably have never dealt with a pandemic before. Be prepared and willing to reassess and make changes if you need to. The more flexible and conscious you are, the better the chance you'll be able to reopen while keeping risk low. Let's review our tips. Start with your local requirements. Develop consent forms. Implement staff screening and temperature checks. Design for physical distance. Make hand sanitizing easy. Implement new cleaning requirements. Be prepared for an actual COVID case. Plan for reopening. I hope you found this video useful. I'm Markeisha with Jotform. See y'all later.